what's your emergency?
Welcome back to That Weewoo Show, a podcast where we watch and discuss episodes of the ABC show 911. I'm Ellen.
I'm Alice.
And I'm Bex.
Thank you to everyone who's been listening to our episodes so far and who has rated us on their favourite podcast listening app. We really appreciate it, and we hope that you're having a great day, whatever you're up to. This week we are continuing with the heist that we started in the previous episodes. So let's find out how that all went down. Alice, do you want to tell us what happened last time on 911?
So last week on 911, Michael and Bobby went camping with Harry to keep traditions alive, while Maddie and Chimney took the next step in their relationship with exchanges of I love yous, although Maddie's was under duress as the dispatch centre was taken hostage.
Which is pretty much exactly what the official promotional summary for this episode was. Maddie fears for herself and her co-workers when the call centre is taken hostage. That was it. That was all we got, which we already knew from last week. What we didn't know from last week, though, were the possible triggers for this episode, which are as follows. We have a minor car accident. The aftermath of, we don't actually see the car accident. There is the generic trigger warning for cops. There is gun violence. There is a hostage situation. There is threats of violence and actual physical violence. Workplace under threat. There is an on-screen shooting. There is the use of an EpiPen and a character being resuscitated.
Yeah, it's a very action-packed episode, this one, isn't it? Lots of stuff
It's
happening.
so action-packed. Not enough talking, too much action.
You've just written notes for the whole thing. It's an interesting episode because, like the other heist episode that, maybe unlike the other heist episode that we've had before, this one is just all basically one day, one kind of event. It's not like things that happened later. It's just the whole thing is one day. So yeah, I think the pacing works really well for this because it's just all one emergency rather than having different scenes.
Before we start, the wiki would like us to know that this episode, which is about 911 dispatchers being taken hostage, aired during National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, a special week celebrating and thanking 911 dispatchers.
Oh. Well, that's nice.
Just the irony.
I'm not sure if it's good timing or like really bad timing.
I don't know. I just found it ironic. I'm sure they did too.
Yeah.
Like, thanks?
That was really the only bit of trivia that I felt worthy of passing on.
Yeah, other than that the title of the episode is The Taking of Dispatch 911, which is riffing on the film The Taking of Pelham 123. I think we mentioned that in the last episode.
We mentioned that last episode, yeah.
Okay, so at the beginning of this we do have like a brief repeat of what happened last time, but we get extra sort of introductory information at the start.
Well, interestingly, there was no previously on 911, and there was no kind of reminder of where we left it. It jumped straight into the new information, which I thought was an interesting choice considering that I think there was a 2-week break at this point for these guys.
Right.
So that
would have been nice to have a bit of a reminder.
Yeah, I mean, there was always the risk that, someone sat down, turned on, expecting to see 911, and instead they see, like, Tiffany and Greg. And like, wait, what? Where's my 911? What am I watching? Oh, God, did it get cancelled over 2 weeks?
They did go back into what happened at the end of the last episode. So we did get a recap a little bit.
We do. It's done quite well. So we start with the classic heist movie introducing the members of the crew with the classic every time a new character comes on screen we get the freeze frame with very stylistic freeze frame with different colouring and their name and their role in the heist. And just in order to speed this up, because we've got a lot to get through in this episode, I'm just going to go straight through, and we meet Tiffany, the driver, who is late. That's kind of the reoccurring theme for her, that she just has no concept of time. We re-meet Greg, who is the captain of the heist. We meet Alice, who is his lieutenant, Oliver, who's the muscle, and Foster, who is the artillery, so he has the weapons.
Foster, aka Voldemort.
The actors who play these guys are, I don't know how you would say it, they're in a lot of TV and film.
One of them's a voice actor as well. Like, he does a lot of game work.
The only one I recognised was the guy who plays Ellis, who is called Asaf Cohen.
Asaf, okay.
He was in Supernatural in the taxi driver episode where Sam had to go to hell to rescue Bobby's soul and take him to heaven. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
He was like the guy who was the taxi driver. But no, the others have been in various things. Like a couple of them were in one of the Thor movies, and there's a few others that have been in Marvel other movies as well, and they've been in lots of TV. So these are
working
experienced actors. Yeah.
Once Tiffany has picked up all of the members of the crew, we see them in the back of the van. Foster is passing out weapons, and we see that they're dressed in black uniforms, and they're putting LAPD badges onto their jackets. They then roll up into, I'm not entirely sure where they are at this point, some kind of underground something. If Alice, do you recognise it? Because you said that you've been driving around LA quite a bit in GTA. Do you have any idea where they are?
Yeah, there were a whole bunch of locations at the start of this that I recognised from GTA. I think this was just like under an overpass.
Okay.
Like, it's just one of the tunnels. I've definitely gone through it in GTA, but it's just like one of the tunnels. But I don't know why there's no traffic there.
Yeah, I was looking at it thinking it was quite deserted. Like, why is it so quiet down there?
Constantly throughout this episode, like, it's 8 a.m. on whatever day this is in LA, and there is almost no traffic on the roads.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely there are no cars in this tunnel. There is a giant tractor trailer, like giant beat-up truck, which has LAPD cruisers inside it. And we meet the final two members of the heist, which is Van Cleef and Arpels, who are our thieves.
I'm wondering if it's actually like the back of a loading dock, because I'm just rewatching it, and there's like big like warehouse doors along it. But either way, it's like somehow very secluded.
Another random little fact about this cast, Arpels is played by a guy called Orson Chaplin, who is Charlie Chaplin's grandson.
Huh.
Wow.
So there you go.
Greg is setting everybody up. They get radios. They get administrator level key cards, which will get them through every door at the call center. And we're told that they have 60 minutes to get in and out. So then everybody gets back in the van or gets in one of the cruisers, and they head off.
Yeah, and they're showing up to dispatch. And it seems the guy at the front desk had been expecting them. They said that the ride-alongs are today, and he's like, yep, okay, I'll just buzz you up. Off he goes.
Yeah, he actually swipes them into the elevator. So he uses his key card, gets the elevator door open, swipes his card, hits level 3, with the intention that they then have to have an express trip, and the only place that they can go is level 3. Security measure, that seems pretty reasonable. Except as soon as the doors shut, Greg whips out his key card and overrides the security guard's key card and takes them to level 2 first.
Which apparently is the server room.
Which is apparently where they keep Terry.
His little enclosure. They scatter food down there.
Yeah, and he I thought Ellis asked if he's Terry. Okay. I thought Terry introduced himself when they walked in. He's like, Terry Flores, can I help you guys? I'm like, well, that's a really weird way to say hello to someone when they come into the room. But no, it was Ellis who said it.
Although I don't know who else would be down there, but yes, they have to double check to make sure that that is actually Terry. And because it is Terry, he gets a gun shoved in his face.
Lucky Terry.
Yeah. So poor Terry is under siege. He's like a hostage now. The rest of the other three of them continue up to the actual dispatch floor, and Sue meets them at the elevator. She knows that they're there. And Greg even asks her, like, how do you know we were here? And then she does a little exposition-y, like, oh, this is my little tablet here that shows me everything I need to know, and I know I can see everything with this. And Greg's very interested in how that works.
It's at this point that the math stops mathing in this episode. Because Sue says, and we remember her from saying from last week, that she thought that there were 5 of them.
Yeah.
But so far, we've seen Greg, Ellis, and Oliver got out at the service room. And we had
There were 2
Foster.
more guys. There were 5 of them in the elevator, right? And then 2 got out in the server room.
Yeah, we've
So
suddenly
3 left.
we haven't been introduced to one of them. So we've got Greg,
Really?
Foster, and Goon number. Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
There is Rand.
They're all just like, middle-aged white guys. I don't, like, I can't keep track of them. There's too many of them.
Yeah, literally. I have no idea.
Who we don't know.
In this
We don't know them at all. We know their names, but that's it. Oh.
Yep. But yes, after we have been told that there are 5 of them again, and we start counting, and pretty soon the math's going to stop mathing, we do start looping back into catching up to where we were in the last episode of Pinned. So we see Maddie arrive at work and say hi to Jake, the security guard, before she gets in the elevator and heads up to the dispatch floor.
We have a brief look back in the server room where Terry is doing some things to the servers while Ellis is pointing the gun in his face. He's trying to get Terry to take the system down. He wants everything to go down. And Terry's like, dispatch is going to go down, but Ellis knows that's what's going to happen. He's like, it's going to be down for 7 minutes, and just tell them it's temporary maintenance.
The gun is very convincing, so Terry does as he says. But it must take a few minutes for the actual reboot to kick in, because we now get a repeat of Maddie walking out of the elevator, greeting Josh, telling Josh that things got kinky with a pelvic splint last night with Chimney, making note of the quote-unquote big police presence, which when I watched that again, I went, Maddie, you've only seen 2 of them. How is that a big police presence when you've seen literally 2 cops on the floor? Then we cut back to more heisty stuff, which is we need to get Jake out of the way. So Jake, down in the lobby behind his security desk, gets a phone call from Terry, who, like, oh my god, dude, I'm so sorry. I just locked myself out of the server room. Can you come let me back in? Right now, please. And we find out that he's making this phone call under supreme duress because he literally has the barrel of a gun pressed to his temple.
Yeah, this episode's going to be a lot of cutting back and forth between the different things that are going on in the heist. And there's not heaps of dialogue.
Good.
No,
which
it
makes
works
it really
well.
hard when I'm writing.
Yeah, it's just hard to describe because there's, so much stuff going on all the time.
Yeah.
And in multiple places. So...
And honestly, the first part of this episode where it's all of this stuff that's a replay from Pinned, I haven't bothered to go into detail because I'm just like this part. Jake locks the front door so that nobody can get in while he's not at the security desk and goes up to let Terry back in. Meanwhile, we get a replay of Maddie's conversation with Chim on the phone where they're talking about the hotel room.
Yeah, and how the conversation's no longer safe for work.
And while that's happening, Jake has reached level 2 and is rather confused because if Terry locked himself out of the server room, then where is Terry and why is the server room door wide open?
Yeah, so he does come in and sees Ellis and Terry, and and the gun pointing at him. But Oliver, who must be the other guy who is up in there, I can't keep track of the name. So so Oliver tackles him and knocks him over, and they drag him behind the servers. So
yeah, we haven't got to that part, so we've just got they knock him out.
Okay. I'm getting ahead.
And then we go back down to dispatch, and we catch up to the end of Pinned. So Maddie goes to her station. Sue brings Officer Brown over to introduce Maddie to her ride-along. Josh has his mug drop moment when he recognises Greg, and then Maddie has to end her phone call by telling Chim that she loves him.
By telling Howie that she loves him.
And then that's the title card. So all of this happened. It's like the most chaotic cold open that an episode could have.
Yeah.
So when we come back from the title card, Terry's system reboot has kicked in, and that's why all the computers suddenly go black, which kind of clears that up, because from the end of Pinned, it was like all of a sudden the computers go black. Why do the computers go black? Because Terry rebooted the system.
Yeah, it's good timing, really, because he just kind of revealed himself to
Very
everybody.
dramatic.
And the computers went down, and he went, oh, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we are taking control of this facility. Do not move or you will be shot. So this is terrible, extremely dramatic. The poor 911, dispatchers are forced to step away from their computers and, sort of herded up with the guys who've got the guns. Then we go back to the server room where Jake's unconscious body is dragged away, and they're going to grab his uniform.
Yeah, so Oliver is left behind to take Jake's uniform, with the idea being that Oliver is going to replace Jake down on the security desk. Ellis takes Terry to take him back upstairs so that all the hostages are in one place. But as he's leading Terry, or forcing Terry towards the stairs, they hear a gunshot. And Terry looks freaked out. Ellis also looks a little shocked. And you kind of get the impression that that wasn't supposed to happen. And the implication, at least that Terry takes away, is that, and I think maybe Ellis as well, is that Jake just got shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as we know, Jake's now dead.
Yeah. Jake got shot.
Poor Jake. So they've lined them up, all the dispatchers, and they're making them empty their pockets. And they want all the cell phones and everything. And he gets along the line to Linda, and Linda has an EpiPen in her hands. And she says, I'm allergic to bees. And Foster, who's the guy who's making them do this, tells her that bees are the least of her troubles today, sweetheart. So
to be fair, are there going to be bees in dispatch?
No, I don't really. I mean, I get that you're attached to your EpiPen, yes, but you just never know, I guess. But
more like, no, this thing's expensive, you can't have it.
Yeah.
So yeah, she drops Chekhov's EpiPen into the waste paper bin that they're handing around. Terry and Ellis arrive, and Terry gets shoved into the lineup with everyone else. And Sue is trying to be brave, and Sue tries to take control of the situation. And she tells Greg that somebody's going to notice when 911 stops answering. But Greg has an answer for that. He's like, you had a systems crash. It's fine. Valley's picking up the slack. Your server's coming back online. And then everything will be fine. You're going to get back to work. But we are going to be supervising. We are going to be monitoring all the calls and approving all resources that you send out. But he also says that because the call volume is usually low this early in the morning, they don't need all the dispatchers on the floor at once. So they split them all up.
Yeah, when he said that, I was like, oh my God, what's he going to do?
They're going to shoot all of them.
You're going to shoot
right.
some of them? But no, they just take them into the corridor and make them sit down and wait.
They split them all up, so Sue ends up sort of on the floor at all times so that Greg can keep an eye on her, because he's obviously realising that she is the one in charge. And then they rotate between having some of the dispatchers at their stations. There's a group of them in a conference room, and there's a group of them down in the corridor that Maddie goes into when she's trying to take private phone calls.
Yeah. And Greg says that they're only going to be there for an hour, then they're leaving. And if anyone tries anything, and Jamal goes, "You'll shoot us." And they're like, "No." And then one of the guys goes and just punches some other person who's near Jamal. And he's like, "We'll shoot the person next to you."
So we immediately get the idea that this was Foster. This is the gun guy. He's going to be the loose cannon. He's the one that doesn't seem to mind hurting people. I will say this for Greg. As much of a dick as he is, he doesn't seem to want to hurt people.
Yeah.
Like, he's threatening. He doesn't mind roughing you up a little bit. Like, he's going to haul you around and throw you around, but
he doesn't actually want anyone to get shot.
Yeah, he's got his plan. We're just going to come in, do our plan, and get out. Nobody's going to get hurt. It's fine. This is going to be a victimless crime.
Yeah, he doesn't want more hate on them.
So where are we? Okay, so they're in the corridor.
And Maddie and Josh get put together.
Yeah. And Maddie asks Josh, how did you know you dropped you dropped the mug before they pulled the guns out? And Josh tells her that he recognised Greg. This is the guy who beat him up on the date. And Maddie says they targeted you because you work here. So Josh is like, "Oh, this is all my fault. We have to warn someone." And Maddie says, "I already did. I just hope he gets the message." And then we cut to Jim, who is so confused. He is just he's trying to talk himself out of getting worried. Yeah. Like, yeah.
Like, he's full on talking to himself.
That's weird. Like, is that weird?
It's weird, right? Yeah.
I love that we
Poor
do get a
Jim.
shot, because he's sent Maddie a series of texts that she hasn't answered to it, and the longer that she doesn't answer, the more texts he sends. So he's blowing up her phone. And it's like, "Hey, that was unexpected, but great. Okay, maybe a little weird. Call me when you can. Maddie, is everything okay?"
Yeah, so the longer it goes, like, he is spiraling. So he tries to call her, and it goes straight to message bank, which is weird, but he's like, "No, you're just being
Voicemail.
paranoid, it's fine."
If you're going to be picking on me last week for Australianisms, message bank is what
Voicemail.
Telstra users call their voicemail. Telstra is one of the major carriers for, it's like your AT&T in America, but it's Telstra for us.
So Jim gets a voicemail, and then we get a commercial break, but after the commercial, Jim's still spiraling. Like, he's literally typed 911 into the phone, and he's like, "No, I'm not going to be that guy. Don't do it. Don't be that guy. Don't do it. Don't do it."
He's trying so
And then
hard
calls
not to do it.
911.
Part of me wants to know what would have happened if actually
Literally,
everything had
I was
been
about
fine.
to say that. Like, hey, I just want to talk to Maddie. She's dealing with with a hostage situation. Like, can she call you back? Oh, yeah, my bad. Sorry.
Like, 911, what's your emergency? Hey, can I talk to Maddie, please?
Can I talk to Maddie? If Maddie's unavailable, can I talk to Josh? Like, so writing Maddie up. Like, can you tell your boyfriend not to call here? But that doesn't happen.
But no, 911, there's like a recorded message that says, "Sorry, we're experiencing a high call volume at the moment." And Jim's like, "It's 8 a.m. What the hell?" So he calls
the last time they got
someone else.
that message was during the earthquake, when the cell towers got absolutely knocked out, unless you were Maddie and you had magic cell phone powers.
Magic baby delivering cell phone powers.
Yes. So since he can't get through to one Buckley, he decides to try the other Buckley.
Jim answers, like, greets him by saying, "How come 911 doesn't respond when I call?" And Buck says, "Is that some kind of riddle? Like, who watches the Watchmen?" Jim's like, "Neither of those things are riddles." He's calling 911 and he got the high volume message, but nothing's happened. Like, did I miss something? He's like,
Which then it makes sense why he's called Buck, because I'm guessing the Buck has been on shift while Chim was off shift having his date or something. So if there was something happening that would warrant high calls, Buck would probably know.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I'm rationalising this.
Aren't they normally always on shift together, though?
It's fine. Buck took up an extra shift. It's fine. Just keep going.
He probably was just out of the shops or something. I don't know. But the funny thing I thought was that when he was walking around his apartment on the phone, and he just walks past this bike that's just hanging on the wall, and I was like, whoa, that's cool. But
I love that decor. Like, it's purely decor. We've never seen Buck on a bike.
Well,
not yet.
But he never uses it, but
yeah, it's purely decor.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's small room storage for bikes. You hang them.
Yeah, it's what my brother did at his apartment when he lived at the apartment.
Very cool. Anyway, so yeah, Buck's trying to talk Chim down, basically.
Well, no, I love that because Buck is concerned that Chim is calling him, and then he's even more confused when Chim reveals that the whole reason that he's calling Buck is, your sister told me that she loves me.
Yep.
Buck's like, wasn't that the whole point of the date last night? And Chim has to explain, like, yes, and no, look, she made this big deal about how she couldn't say those words to me, and then she says those words to me. But then hangs up on me.
Yeah, and Buck's like, this is not sounding like it's emergency. Like, what the hell? And then Chim's like, you know what, forget it. And then he just hangs up.
Yeah, he realises as he's talking that he sounds insane, but he's like, I swear I'm not insane. However, I feel insane.
All right, so back on the actual dispatch floor, 911 is working again, and the dispatchers are taking calls. And Linda has taken a call where there was the car accident, right? There was an accident on the corner of 9th and Los Angeles Street. And then Ellis, he's basically just taken over the whole of dispatch, right? He's like really good at this. Like, he sounds professional.
He's got Linda's special little pad. And yeah, he is the one who is
He's like running the whole thing.
Yeah, he's doing Sue's job, and yeah, he's doing a really good job. He's got really good customer service voice. You would not know that he had taken everybody hostage. He sounds very professional. Except for the fact that he literally yanks the headset out of Linda's ear.
Kind of rude.
Which I don't understand why Linda has a headset in, because apparently everybody in the room can hear every single call. Because the person on the caller, the 911 caller, says that they're calling from the downtown at the corner of 9th and Los Angeles Street. Sue and Ellis, who are on the other side of the floor, their heads whip around so fast. I'm surprised.
Yeah, they can also hear it somehow.
Chiropractors, because they've heard that. I'm like, how did you hear that? It was in Linda's ear. Neither of you have headsets on at this point. At which point, Ellis literally bounces across the room and yanks the headset from Linda's ear so that he can take over the call. It's not quite Gloria bad, but he's pretty much just, can you guys just push the cars out of the intersection?
Yeah, like you guys do it. Bye.
Yeah,
yeah, but he does tell them that help is on the way. Like, they're going to send
someone. Help is on the way, dear!
And he tells Linda that no one goes into that area. Yeah, they do say that it's time to rotate. So they grab the people who have been sitting at the desks and take them to the corridor or wherever they were stashing them. And other people are, made to come and answer calls instead. And Linda's, tells Maddie or whispers to Maddie as she goes past, they don't want anyone downtown.
Yeah, so now they know where they're trying to protect.
Meanwhile, downtown, because of course she's downtown.
Yeah, right in the middle of everything.
Always.
Not realising that she is, but she is.
No.
Athena's cruising in her vehicle, talking to May. updating her, apparently the menfolk are on their way back from the campsite. And then Athena has to cut the conversation short because she is now on the corner of 9th and Los Angeles Street, and she has come across the multiple vehicle collision, which looks like it's just a fender bender. It's not really as severe as Linda was making it out to be.
Yeah.
And there are people pushing the cars out of the intersection, as Ellis asked them to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and two people are having an argument. Like,
oh, I love these two.
they're yelling at each other. They're like, "It was yellow. You jackass."
It was irresponsible.
Athena's like, "Why don't you each go to your own car and we will sort this out?" And then
the guy's like, "We were in the same car," and the woman that's yelling at him sort of points at him and is like, "That's my husband." Yeah.
And Athena's just like, okay. So obviously she's just come across this accident. She wasn't called to come here by 911. So the woman's confused as like, what, isn't that why you're here? No, someone called 911. So Ellis gets on the radio and asks her, they're requesting you at like sunset for an assault and battery. So off you go, you know.
Yeah, like way further away. Go away.
Yeah. Athena's like, I'm at 9th in Los Angeles. There's an accident here. And Ellis is like, no, unit's already en route. Get out of there.
Just please leave. Please. Leave.
So she leaves. And I think as she leaves, the woman who was involved in the accident's like rolling her eyes going, whatever. Just.
We'll keep moving the cars out of the way, I guess.
She's not having the best day.
And then we realize, after we have seen Athena drive through the very, very empty, very, very quiet streets of Los Angeles, that Ellis is watching her car on his magic iPad. So he has seen that she has responded to the call, and that's why he has requested her to attend the assault and battery down on Sunset.
Yeah, so she gets out of the way, and we see Tiffany, who is in the van still, and Ellis tells her that she's clear for delivery. So she grabs a box from her passenger seat and gets out of the van. She goes
she's driving like a white panel van, which at the moment says that she's from Marathon Couriers.
At the moment, does it change costume?
Yes, it does.
Right,
I think they've got like magnetic stickers, and they keep changing the stickers on the side of the van depending on what Tiffany's doing. It's very clever. They thought of everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really complicated plan.
Tiffany's just in a white polo shirt, and a white cap, and she keeps changing the badges on her shirt and cap depending on what van she's driving.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But she delivers a box to what essentially looks like a fire door that has no sort of external way of getting into a building, which seems a little bit sus until you realize what she's doing.
Yeah, so she puts the box down and adjusts it until she's happy. Like, I don't know how she gets this angle just right, but it overloads the security camera that's on the side of the building that's across the intersection.
Yeah, there's something in the box.
Kills it. Yeah. So it was at this point that I was like, if they've got this technology that can disable a camera just by shining a laser at it or whatever they're doing, why do they need guns to get into the dispatch? Like, it just seems like unnecessarily risky.
Yeah, I was the same. I was like, what? Why do they need dispatch? I don't understand.
But, I mean, it's to keep because it triggers off the alarm when the cameras go down, which is what we see next. And they need to keep the cops away from the investigating the alarm until they're like, it's so complicated. The plan is very convoluted. I don't know. It would have worked if it hadn't been for those pesky kids. i.e. Chim and Buck.
Pretty much, yeah.
So yeah, she overloads the thing, the alarm goes off, and Sue gets hears the sound that the iPad makes, which is an automated alarm, and says that, that's a security alarm. We usually send someone to that.
So this is a little bit of a funny point, because when Tiffany disables the security alarm, the camera pans up from where Tiffany was to do a long lingering shot on a specific building, which is meant to be the scene of where the heist goes down. And I was pretty sure that if I had been a Los Angeles native, that I would immediately go, oh, hey, it's that building. Because it felt like it had...
It's quite a distinctive looking building.
Exactly. But being Australian, I have no fucking clue what that building is. So I took a photo of it, and then I Google image searched it and found out that it is the Walt Disney Concert Hall, the LA Philharmonic.
You know what's funny is I recognized it from the Get Smart movie.
I just assumed it was an actual art gallery. Are you saying it's not an art gallery at all? It's
not an art
concert
gallery.
Hall building. It's
a concert hall. So that's hilarious, because I love that the fact that they've got all this later on it becomes that they display the art like they display pictures at a school. Like they've got the art lining the hallways of this concert hall, like you have the art lining the hallways of a primary school. But we'll get back to that because I think that's hilarious. But the point that I wanted to make here is that it is the Walt Disney Concert Hall, but when we get a shot of Sue's magic iPad, it comes up as the Pacific Concert Hall. Because I'm guessing Fox didn't want to pay to name drop Walt Disney.
Yeah, okay,
which is
enough.
Amusing because now 911 is owned by Disney.
Well, it's owned by ABC, but Disney had the rights to stream it in Australia. So,
ABC is owned by Disney.
ABC is also owned by Disney. Excellent.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was quite funny. But anyway, so with the security alarm going off, which everybody in the room thinks is so funny. Oh my God, there's a security that's gone off in first of grand. Who ever thought that would have happened? Greg alerts the Rover team to go fetch. They rotate out the dispatchers, and we cut to 19124 Sunset, where Athena has been sent by Ellis.
I can't believe their streets are so long that they have 19,000 addresses on them. It's crazy. I mean, we do have that in Australia on long highways, for example, but not in a middle of a city.
Yes.
As far as I know, I don't know. Anyway,
no, if you had a road
Athena
long enough
there.
to warrant that, you'd suddenly get cross streets and it would change names and then start.
Yeah, it often changes names before it gets that high. All right, so Athena shows up, and there's already police there. The guy who's what is that? The officer's name who we see all the time.
Williams, my friend, Officer
there.
Williams. Yeah,
he's there all the time. She's sort of looking at she doesn't even get out of the car. She just looks at them and goes, "You mean to tell me it took 4 of you to subdue a 2-person brawl, and then you called for me?" And Williams is looking at her going, "We didn't call you." So yeah, obviously all of the cops that were hanging around, the guys in dispatch have just sent them all to this place to get them out of the way.
I think so, yeah. Dispatch, the other officer, so not Williams, there's another one there who is not currently apprehending one of the suspects. He blames dispatch on having a late night last night. And Athena calls back to dispatch to hey, is there any reason that we're all having a party out on Sunset? The call goes through to Jamal this time, and Ellis immediately takes over.
Yeah.
With his amazing customer service persona. So sorry, Sergeant, we're having some technical difficulties. Apologies for the mix-up. Athena's yeah, okay, cool. By the way, that car accident, is everything fine? Everything's fine. Don't you worry about it.
Yep, ignore the car accident. Don't think about it.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Yeah, he's really good at it.
Maybe if he is a good boy in prison, they'll let him be a dispatcher when he gets out, or work in some sort of call centre.
I don't know if he'll get the security clearance.
Or maybe he can work for like an internet provider call centre.
Maybe. Okay, so at the concert hall, which is not called Walt Disney Concert Hall in this universe, we have the security letting the thieves, who are called Van Cleef and Arpels, letting them in, and they're saying that like we need to check with dispatch to make sure you guys are, allowed in or something. Is that what they say? We need verification before we let you in, basically. You can't come in unless we know that you're really here for...
Security is a little bit, like, hesitant to let Van Cleef and Arpels in. They're like, guys, the cameras went down for a minute. It's fine. It was probably just a power surge. We told the security company everything's fine. Y'all don't need to come in. But if you are going to be here, we need to contact dispatch to get the authorization and verification that you are who you say you are before we let you into our concert hall, which is apparently now a low-grade impressionist art museum. So apparently within the concert hall, it's not even just art on the hallways, the walls of the hallway and in the lobby. They're claiming that that's an actual museum. It's Museum 111. But it's just the lobby of the concert hall.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay.
Still not going to be high enough security for all of the impressionist artists that they've got, because I don't even know how much one of those pieces is going to be worth. Van Cleef does give his verification to the security officer. It's at the end of his rifle, and it goes straight into the back of his head.
Yes. He doesn't shoot him, he just hits him with it.
And then both security officers... Yeah. He just gets a gun pointed at him. And then they both get duct taped and tied up in the men's bathroom.
Yep. So they head out the back to a loading dock of some sort, where Tiffany is waiting, and she hands them some bags to put things in, and off they go to do the thieving.
See, and now the van that Tiffany's in says Harmony Sound Transport.
Oh,
right.
Which would make more sense at a concert venue, hey?
And because we see later on, like, they put the artwork into sort of big black cases, which kind of look like sound equipment cases.
So Josh is taking a call from this woman who is calling because they put green onions in her omelette. And she told them that she was allergic, but she's not actually allergic.
She's not actually allergic.
But they didn't know that. And Josh is like, what the fuck? Like, you can't call 911 because someone made you the wrong breakfast order. And
like, it's bad enough he has to put up with being held hostage. Now he has to deal with nonsense 911 calls. Yeah.
He looks so nervous and just like, really, seriously, is this what you're coming to me with right now?
I know, I feel awful for Josh.
It doesn't help that Greg, who apparently can hear this call as well, comes over and kind of whispers in Josh's ear and kind of shoves this back in his face. He's like, do you still feel like you're making a difference? I bet this woman really thinks you're... God, what is that word? And then we get a flashback back to Greg's date with Josh, where Josh was saying that, being a 911 dispatcher, he'll never be rich, but at least he'll be worthwhile.
Yeah, they made the flashback and everything, it made your skin crawl. Like, it's really well done. It's just like he's whispering in his ear sort of thing. It's like, oh, horrible.
But it motivates him.
Yeah.
Because he tells the woman that making a false report to 911 is a crime and he is going to send the police. But as he's talking, he's backspacing out her current location, which is Wilshire. Again, I don't know which one, because there must be like 7 of them at this point. And starts typing a different address.
So Greg asks him if he feels better. He says, "You feel better, big guy?" Josh is like, "I do." So they rotate them out, basically. He grabs Josh and Jamal and sends them back to the holding place and grabs 2 new people. And Jamal's sort of questioning why they keep moving them around like this. And Maddie says it's so that we can't make a plan. We can't, none of us know the full details, so we can't decide what to do, basically.
Yeah, they're keeping them separate long enough so that they can't really chat, in theory.
Makes sense. And she looks over to see that Terry is sort of shaking, basically, in place. He's not looking well. Maddie asks him if he's okay, and he says, I don't want to die in here. And Maddie tries to reassure him, but he said that's when he says that Jake's dead. They shot him. And everyone's sort of shocked when they hear this. And Jamal says they have to get a message out. And then Josh says that a woman called about onions in an omelette and I dispatched an officer. And Maddie says, to the restaurant? And he goes, not exactly. So then we cut to Chim, who is on the phone to Buck again. Because clearly he can't let this go. He's worried.
He's still spiraling, but he's gone beyond just trying to call Maddie. Now he's considering storming the 911 dispatch center to talk to Maddie face to face.
Yeah.
And Buck is now kind of on board with the panic because he's now tried calling Maddie and Josh isn't picking up either. Which, just seals the deal for Chim. He says, now I'm definitely going. But before he can go, there's a knock on the door. And Buck is still, he's still spiraling. He's like, what if something is wrong? Maybe we should call the police. Chim answers the knock on the door and says, somebody already did. And we pull back to reveal that it was Athena standing at his door, looking as surprised to see Chim as Chim is to see her.
Yeah, I guess she hasn't been to Chim's place before.
Don't think so.
I imagine why. I actually saw an interesting comment online when I was looking up just stuff about this episode where basically, if you get put in a hostage situation and they're not wearing masks, that's when you should be panicking because it means that they don't expect anyone to identify them later.
Oh.
I think Maddie says something about that later on, doesn't she?
I'm not too sure, but yeah, Maddie's definitely panicking a bit.
Yeah, Linda starts what happens when it's time to leave, and Maddie's like, they're not gonna want to leave behind a room full of witnesses.
Yeah, it's very concerning.
So Athena has called her captain to just discuss it with her, and Chim is in the background talking to Buck on the phone still, and Buck keeps asking what is she saying now?
Yeah, Buck's very involved in this now.
And Athena tells Chim that the captain doesn't think that there's an I love you is not great evidence for something being wrong. So, but Chim's but they sent you down to my apartment for an assault with a deadly onion. That feels more convincing. So they're going to try, she says, she's going to talk to operations and see if we can get eyes on the building. And this is when Buck sort of butts in because he's on speaker now, so he can talk to Athena as well. And he says he's obviously been watching too many heist movies, and he knows what the deal is. He's like, we can't just send in the SWAT. If there's someone inside the call center doing something, they'll know we're onto them. So Athena decides they're going to go for a drive. And talk to you later, Buck. And Buck's like, no, don't hang up. But he hangs up.
Chimney hangs up.
Yeah.
And then Buck waits all of 3 seconds before going fuck this. Grabs his keys, grabs his jacket, and he's out the door.
Yeah.
Oh man, Buckley, don't do something stupid. You're going to do something stupid. I know you're going to do something stupid, but...
That doesn't sound like Buck. Buck doesn't do something stupid.
No, he's going to be a big damn hero about it. Okay, so it's go time. It's go time at the concert hall.
At the concert hall / museum, we get a quick shot of the security desk showing the interior cameras losing signal. So Van Cleef and Arpels are completely unsupervised as they run around and start pulling pieces of art off the wall. The only one I actually looked up was the one that we see Van Cleef actually pull off the wall to start with, and that is a Degas piece called Women Viewed from Behind. And ironically, she is at a museum. So she's looking at art, and then she's being painted looking at art, which then hangs in a museum where people are looking at her, looking at art. It's like one of those pictures that just keeps going and going. Mostly I just wanted to make sure that it was actually an Impressionist art, because I didn't trust that the 911 writers would pick Impressionist artists to hang in their Impressionist art gallery. But it was.
Yeah, and it's weird because as he pulls it away from the wall, these little, like, balls come out of it.
I could not figure out what the fuck they were.
No, I was assuming it was, like, something that would trigger the alarm system.
I think they're just to help it hang up.
But he's got, like, the little dentist mirror. He sort of runs it along the bottom of the frame to find the little balls. And, like, what? If anybody knows anything about hanging art in lobbies
let me check the thing, because I used to hang art at work.
Okay. But if you do hang art in lobbies of concert halls, especially Impressionist art that, needs full security, is this how you would hang it? Would you have these little ball bearings tucked behind the frame? Would that be enough to keep it secure for you?
Oh, I think it's literally just to keep the frame straight by the looks of it.
What the
like weights in
Yeah, like not weight. It's just stopping the frame from, like, going down
tipping?
the wall. Yeah.
Like to tipping away from where it's hung?
Yeah.
Okay.
But while this is happening, the needle drop.
Yes. I was a little bit disappointed that it wasn't the remix, because I love the remix.
Yeah, so we've got A Little Less Conversation by Elvis playing.
Yeah, the remix is good, you're right. But this is the original. So we do get a little more action in that we see the thieves cutting the artworks out of their frames and wrapping them up and putting them in their boxes, trunk things that look like music cases, and wheeling them down to the van. And in between that, we also see what's happening at dispatch. So they're directing all the traffic away and swapping dispatchers in and out. So I don't know how often they're swapping them around, but it seems like it's only a few minutes at a time kind of thing.
Yeah.
It does seem pretty quick, yeah.
We also find out that Van Cleef and Arpels are not going as fast as Greg would like them. Because remember, they've got to be in and out in under an hour. And when they get a status report from Rover Team, which is Van Cleef Arpels and Tiffany reports back that they've only got 4 pieces of art, which is apparently only a third of their list. And the reason that it's taking them so long is it's taking longer than they expected to get the art out of the frames. And Greg's just like, well, then take the fucking frames. And Tiffany says, no, we can't do that because the trackers are in the frames. You take the frames, it's just going to put a big beacon on where the artwork is being taken. And Greg's just like, I don't fucking care, just go faster. We're on a time crunch here, woman. And everyone's getting very antsy.
A little bit worried about this.
Chim's also looking really worried.
Chim's looking worried. Athena is asking him, she says, you're quiet, should I be worried? It's like, well, my girlfriend is stuck in the dispatch with potentially, like, we don't know what's going on. Are you not worried? But anyway, Chims does say that he's freaked out. And at least now I've got a partner in this. And Athena's like, we are not partners. You're here so I can keep an eye on you and make sure you don't do anything foolish.
And speaking of foolish,
a fool in a Jeep.
Very familiar Jeep.
I swear Fools was a couple of episodes ago, but yeah, very, very familiar Jeep overtakes the squad car at high speed.
Yeah, in the middle of this, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming he was doing it on purpose to get them to stop.
Yeah, he was getting Athena's attention.
But she's like,
but
is
yeah,
that who I think it is?
Pulls over the Jeep, and as she goes to, like, the driver's side window, Buck's just like, okay, now don't be mad.
He's still so terrified of her. I love it.
But yeah, so he gets shoved into the back of Athena's cruiser, and Jim's just like, hey, Buck.
And once again, I had the big question mark of, did Buck get handcuffed? Because as he's being shoved into the back of the cruiser, Oliver has put his hands behind his back.
Yeah.
Just like he did when he was put into hospital jail.
Why would she handcuff him though?
I don't know, but Oliver has this thing of when he's in trouble with Athena, he just, like, the submissive part of him just kicks in and he puts his hand behind his back. Which just makes it look like he's been handcuffed. He's not. That's just, like, the Oliver Stark acting choice of when faced with the wrath of Angela Bassett, I'm going to, like, roll over and show my belly.
Yes.
Fair.
And she does say to them, did you two tell anyone else what's happening at the call centre? And they both look like naughty little boys. And they're like, no. She says, good, because I'm running out of room in here. So they head towards dispatch, and Ellis notices on his magic tablet that Athena's little car is coming back. So he tells Greg, hey, we've got a problem here. And
Greg's like, yeah, I know. We have a problem. I knew we've got a problem. And Alice is like, no, new problem.
Another problem.
Yeah, and they work out that she's actually pulling into the, here. And Athena's ears prick up. Sue's ears prick up. She's like, what's happening?
We're going to get rescued?
So Athena's going to go in and take a look around and see if everyone forgot to charge their phone. The security camera at the front picks up on her, and Oliver is at the front desk, and he sees that she's coming in and tells
every
them
time
on
we
the
say
radio.
Oliver's somewhere, I'm just like,
yeah, I know. We actually mean Oliver.
Oliver, the bad guy.
I'm really surprised that they didn't go, like, it's obviously Van Cleef and Arpels are a pseudonym. I'm really surprised they didn't go, like, full Reservoir Dogs and just have them all named a colour. Because we had Officer Brown at the beginning. So I don't know why they didn't just keep with that and have everybody have a colour name or have some kind of fun name.
Yeah.
Rather than their actual government names.
Yeah.
But anyway, Oliver sees Athena approaching and he's like, guys, there's a cop coming. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, and she comes in and says, I'm here to follow up on a call. Do you mind if I go up? And Oliver just goes, yeah, sure.
Yeah, literally just, okay.
So, sure. He like panics
funny.
And goes, okay.
And then she walks away and his face just goes, what the fuck did I just say?
Yeah, like, what the fuck do I do now?
She's coming up.
Foster's the gunman, Voldemort, as Alice has been calling him, he's got a really simple solution. Just shoot her.
Yeah, way to go, Voldemort.
Which
and
everybody...
he's like totally on board with. Like, Oliver's like, okay.
Well, he's like,
at first he says, are you serious? Yeah.
And Foster's like, yeah, just shoot her. And Oliver's, yeah, okay. Pulls his gun out. Ellis and Greg aren't involved with that. So he's like, Ellis didn't sign up to kill a cop. And Greg agrees, like, none of us signed up to kill a cop. He obviously doesn't know about Jake. So he doesn't realize that they possibly already have a fatality on their hands. He thinks everything's above board. But Sue is listening to them arguing backwards and forwards, and she decides that she has a really simple solution. And she can get rid of her. Her being Athena.
So Sue calls Athena by her call sign and tells her they've got a report of a code 77 at Eagle Rock Lanes, which is hilarious that there is a street called Eagle Rock.
Eagle Rock Lanes.
But yes, so Athena turns around before she gets into the elevator and says, I'll have to follow up later. And Oliver's like quickly hiding the gun again.
Yeah.
He's like, Athena goes, I hope your day's quiet.
It's a really clever move on Sue's part, because we later find out that the code that she gives Athena was also a warning. But even Sue herself going over the radio would immediately throw red flags up, because Sue is not a dispatcher anymore. She doesn't work the radios. So for Athena to hear her voice over the radio, she knows that something has gone wrong.
Yeah, Greg says that she did a good job, and Sue doesn't want to see anyone getting shot. And she tells,
they don't even check the call sign. Yeah.
They're
just like, okay, yeah, that's.
He just
I'm
says,
sure
what's
it's
the
fine.
code 77? And Sue says, oh, urinating in public or something.
It's been a while since I worked the radio, which should have been like the immediate, like, what do you mean you don't work the radio?
Yeah.
But anyway, Athena immediately gets in her car and calls Eileen. And it's like, Sue Blevins is on the radio, and she's giving me the code 77. And Shim goes, what's a code 77? Apparently, and this is an accurate code, according to the Wiki's page. A 77 is ambush, proceed with caution.
Yeah.
I don't remember this scene at all. How have I missed a complete scene? She's poking under the hood?
Yeah, she's got the hood open. Basically, Athena realized that they're using CAD to track her movements, which means that she's pulling out the GPS from her car so that they can't track her. That's the whole point of that scene.
So yeah, she pulls out the GPS, the screen goes blank, so she's, like, done it.
Which sounds like a really good idea, except then she suddenly goes completely blank off Ellis's display, and he starts freaking out. Because he should still be able to see her, and he can't see her anymore. But while Ellis is panicking, Chim is starting to panic even more.
Yeah, he's like, Buck tells him that don't be worried. Maddie is smart. She can take care of herself until help gets there. And Chim's wondering, nobody inside the building knows that we're coming for them. And what if they get tired of waiting? So they know something's happening in there now, but they have no idea who is doing it or how desperate they are.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ellis is freaking out, and we do find out that Linda and Maddie are also wondering what's going to happen when they get tired of waiting. If they kill Jake, Maddie says they're not going to want to leave behind a room full of witnesses.
Ellis is seriously freaking out about the fact that he can't find Athena. Foster is just like, if you let Oliver shoot her, we wouldn't have this problem. And Ellis is like, you can't just solve every problem by killing people. And Foster's like, oh, maybe not, but it would have solved this problem. He pulls his gun on Ellis, and Ellis responds by body slamming him through a conference room window, which is not good. You don't really want to see your hostage takers kind of fighting.
No, they're losing control of the
massively
situation.
Losing control.
And Greg is losing control of them because he can't break them apart. He's yelling at them to knock it off. He's trying to pull them apart. Meanwhile, Terry has realized that everyone is distracted, and he's eyeing the fire alarm on the other side of the dispatch floor. And when Greg wades into the fray to try and stop Ellis and Foster from doing whatever they're doing, he starts sprinting across the floor.
Yeah, and they do notice that he's doing that. Greg tries to stop him, and Foster, who's the Voldemort guy, tries to, aims his gun towards him, and he would have shot him, but Josh came along and tackles him, and he does fire the gun, but he doesn't hit anybody, thank goodness.
No, the shots go wild.
And so Foster hits Josh with the butt of the rifle, and Josh ends up with this big, blood coming out of the side of his head, basically.
The poor guy's already healing from a massive head injury.
I know, poor Josh.
Now he's got another concussion to deal with.
Greg's desperately trying to get back in control of the situation. He's like, get back to your stations. And he tells Ellis to take Terry downstairs to see if he can find the cop car. So I think they're going to try and reboot the system again to see if they can get it working.
Meanwhile, Tiffany is not doing her job because she doesn't answer the radio straight away. And when she does, she tells Greg that she needs another 30 minutes. So his in and out and under 60 is that, like, that's not happening. They've blown their schedule. And but the longer they stay, the greater the risk is that shit's going to go wrong. I mean, it's already started to go wrong.
Yeah, like, it's very quickly they're losing control of everything.
Yeah. The good thing is that when they rotated everyone out, Maddie and Linda are now back together.
And they're plotting.
They are.
Maddie reckons she could fake a heart attack. And then they could use the defibrillator. And Linda says on all of them. That's like there's only, what, 3? No, there must be 4 of them up there now if there are 5 altogether. I don't know. We've lost count of how many people there are.
Yeah, there's an amount.
There should be. Greg's just gone downstairs with Terry. So there should be Foster and Ellis and goon number 1. We haven't seen goon number 1 since all this went down, but he should be up there as well. So there should be 3 of them up there.
Okay. Meanwhile, the LAPD have mobilised and the fire department, I guess, as well. They've near the dispatch area. They're all kind of gathering, getting ready for them to make their move. They're closing down some streets and getting ready for the SWAT team to move in. Everyone is off their GPS and calling each other individually rather than the radios.
They have a plan.
Yeah, they've sort of worked out what was happening. Like they've worked out that there were sit-alongs scheduled, but none of the names on the list actually checked out. So there are 5 bad guys inside, and Chim says that we've got no plan to get our guys out, and Athena says, no, we have a plan, we just don't like it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on here. There's a guy comes up to them, and he's from Valley Communications, so he used to work in the other dispatch, so he knows what's happening inside. And Buck and Chim are just watching all of this happen, just going, oh my God, what is happening here? Buck says, I'm sorry, I thought you were crazy.
And Chim says, I'm sorry that I wasn't. We jump back over to dispatch just to check on everyone. Josh is okay. Foster is not. Foster is completely losing his shit. And that was pretty much it. That's all we got.
Yeah, he like knocks everything off.
Yeah,
it
was just a quick checkup to be like, hey, Josh is okay, by the way.
Josh is okay. Things with the hostages, the hostage takers are not. Whatever fuse that they had is getting very, very short right now. So whatever LAPD and SWAT are going to do, let's hope they do it soon, because I don't think this guy is going to be able to keep his cool for much longer.
So Dave and Athena are working it all out. Maynard, who's the chief, the police chief, so she's explaining, giving us the lowdown, and Chim and Buck at the same time. So explaining what's happening.
Chim and Buck in this scene, it's so funny because they're standing next to each other and Buck is a full head taller than Chim. Yeah. Like, the size difference has never been so obvious until this moment. And I was just like, oh my God.
And even Maynard is very tall as well. Yeah. And she's standing next to Chim, and he's tiny.
He's been hanging with Maddie mostly, and they're very close in height.
Yes.
And then just Oliver and his a million limbs.
I thought it was more interesting that for some reason Maynard is allowing them to participate in this.
Yeah. Yeah, because why haven't they been sent away? They're not on duty.
I guess they're dispatchers, so they're just like, yeah, you can just hang around.
They're not on shift. They're in their civvies. But she's actively, like, she leaves Athena and Dave to do their plotting with all of the 911, like, logs and things like that. And she specifically asks Chim, how are the RA units going?
Yeah, it's like Chim's sort of looking after the paramedics who are arriving.
Yeah.
Which is great, even though he's not
I guess
on shift.
Athena's like, look, these two aren't gonna, like, give it up. So we may as well just include them.
Give him something to do, keep him out of trouble, otherwise Buck's going to be storming the dispatch by himself.
Literally.
He would do that, absolutely.
So we had the 122 and the 133 RA units have just shown up. Buck is more interested in the bus full of people that's just rolled in, which Maynard tells Buck, and by virtue of Buck as the audience, that they are the off-duty 911 dispatchers. Because as soon as they take back the call center, they're going to need to get 911 back up and running, and the hostages are not going to be in any condition to continue to take calls. So they're going to swap them out for these guys.
Yeah, which is very good planning.
But Chim's a little bit surprised, though, because, like, what do you mean when you take back the call center, you're not going to, like, negotiate with the hostage takers? And Maynard's like, they don't want to negotiate. If they wanted to negotiate, they would have reached out to us. They would have made ransom demands. We're just going to go in and take it by force before they even know that we're coming. If we do it right, it'll be, painless. Chim's like, if we don't do it right, she said, well, that's why I need to get all those RA units. Yeesh.
So Ellis is in the server room with Terry. Terry does not know why all the cops have disappeared. I mean, Ellis, I think you can probably figure it out if you thought about it, but Foster comes in and he's trying to work out what's going on. And Ellis tells him that the police car, that one police car is not the only one that's gone dark. And so Foster says it's time to cut our losses. So they tell Terry to stay there. I don't know why they're leaving him on his own without any supervision, but
see, the fun thing is, I was like, yeah, why, Terry, why are you staying there? Because it then cuts from that scene, we go back up to dispatch floor, but then we cut back to these guys, and it's like a millisecond later. So even though it's like, stay here, when we come back, they're still in exactly the same position, and we continue their conversation, so he doesn't even have a chance to go anywhere. But while Foster and Ellis are, like, considering their options down in the server room, Maddie is sowing the seeds of discord in Greg. He's freaking out because Tiffany said that it was going to be 30 more minutes. Now he can't get Tiffany on the phone, on the radio at all.
Yeah.
And Maddie takes this opportunity to ask if she can check on Josh, because she used to be a nurse and she's concerned that he has a concussion. Greg says that she can check on him when they are done, and Maddie's like, when's that going to be? You said it was going to be an hour. It's been longer than an hour. And Greg points his gun at her and says, you sit down and shut up. I will worry about the time. Maddie grabs hold of that. It's like, oh, so you are worried. That makes sense because, all your friends keep disappearing. Are they even still in the building?
Yeah, Maddie's poking fun here, which is kind of funny to watch, but also, Maddie, please don't hurt yourself.
Yeah, I mean, so far Greg doesn't seem to want to hurt anybody, but he's getting really stressed and you don't want him to snap on you.
Yeah, so Foster and Ellis are still having their argument in the server room. Oh, they're not arguing, they're just deciding what they're going to do next, I think. So,
yeah.
Foster's like, we can go down the back stairs. I have a car waiting around the corner. We can split up the art and go our separate ways. And Ellis is like, you've got a car parked down the street? You were always going to double-cross Greg?
And Foster's like, wait, you weren't?
Yeah. Isn't that how these heist movies work, though? Everyone's triple-crossing each other. Like,
yeah.
Everyone's in for themselves only.
So we're gonna go back and forth really quick in this part now. So we then go back up to dispatch floor where Greg is still, like, stressed out about Maddie. He's starting to drag her across the dispatch floor. As he passes her, Linda suddenly collapses off her chair and falls to the floor. And then Greg starts freaking out because, like, as I said before, he doesn't know about Jake. He's assuming that everyone is okay. Like, he's stopped people from being shot. He's stopped the cop from being shot. He did not sign up for people getting shot, and he did not sign up for one of his hostages to die on him. We're going back down to the server room for Ellis.
Yeah, he's like, you can't just sell famous works of art on eBay. And Boss is like, you can't sell them from prison either. So I don't know why we needed to see them saying that, but okay. They're still trying to get out.
Yeah.
Back in dispatch, Linda is gasping on the floor, and Maddie gives her a wink and taps the side of her nose and says, "Oh no, she's having an allergic reaction."
Oh no, Linda's dying.
Greg's like, "Allergic to what?"
Yeah, unfortunately, Greg doesn't just go along with it. He wants to know what she's actually having a reaction to. And Maddie's like, bees? But there are, like, imaginary bees? Thankfully, Sue,
looks around the room and goes, latex.
Yeah, I'm sure it's the gloves, guys.
You know, you've been manhandling Linda for over an hour now, but she's only just
all that exposure to
yeah. But Maddie's very, you know, she's a better actor than the rest of them. She's like, she's gonna die if she doesn't get her medication, and so Greg is like, fine, just go.
At this point, they don't even care. They're like, do whatever. Don't care.
I just don't want a death on my hand. If I'm going to prison, I want to go to prison for thievery, not homicide.
Yeah. So Maddie runs in and like dumps everything out of the little bins that they've put all their belongings in, and finds the EpiPen while Greg's shouting at her to hurry up. And she runs back over to Linda, but instead of putting the EpiPen in Linda, she grabs Greg and stabs him with it in the wrist, and it just makes him fall over.
Yeah, because he just got a massive dose of epinephrine, which he did not need. So Maddie takes the opportunity to take his gun off him and strip him of all his weapons, at which point goon number 2 comes running. And I'm looking at this guy going, wait, is that Oliver? No, that's not Oliver. He's still down in the security. No, how did the thieves get to... We've never seen this guy before.
Really?
So this is where I'm saying the math isn't mathing, because this is not goon number 1, because goon number 1 was a Latino, or at least a person of color. This guy is like Aryan Nation poster boy. That means that there were... I don't know. It's late. I don't even know the math anymore. But just... random goon.
I was not keeping track of any of this, so I believe when you say you've never seen this guy before.
I've never seen this guy before, and he's all like, "Hey, what's going on here?" At which point Jamal jumps him.
Yeah, and they just grab the guns off him, and so now all of the dispatchers have all the weapons. So they've taken over. They're doing this thing again where they finally get on top of a situation only for the real rescuers to arrive. So in the server room, Ellis says into the radio, Rover crew, change of plan, leave the van go. And so the thieves stop and look at each other and they're like, are you sure about this?
Because it's coming from Ellis too. Why are they not waiting for Greg to confirm?
Yeah.
Also, why is Greg not hearing this radio communication and going, what the fuck do you mean leave the van go? There was no change of plans.
Well, he's got his hands full of, random extra people in the dispatch centre that he doesn't know why they're there.
Because we know that they can hear everything, because Oliver is sitting behind the security desk going, wait, there was a van go?
Yes. I love that.
But Van Cleef apparently decides that Ellis's word is good enough and tells Arpels, okay, yep, we're going. Radio to Tiffany, start the van, we're coming out hot. And as they start to leave the museum inside a concert hall, we see the security cameras start to come back online.
He yells, we're coming out now. Get the van ready. They come out into the loading dock where the van should be, but instead of a van, there is a bunch of police waiting for them. So they skid to a stop and get arrested. Hooray. But he's still holding the radio.
He still has his finger on the broadcast button on the radio. So Oliver, and all of a sudden, Greg, for some reason, can hear that he is getting arrested. Oliver starts freaking out. Foster freaks and starts running. And when Ellis asks, like, where the fuck are you going? Foster's just like, I'm going where there are hostages.
Yeah, I mean, I assume he's hoping to grab someone and, threaten to kill them.
He's trying to find a human shield.
Yeah. Literally just trying to find a human shield, which is lovely.
And then things just start going wrong. Foster races back up to the dispatch floor to get his hostage, and nearly gets shot by Sue. Who warns him that the next shot is going to go into his head. Oliver tries to run out the front door of the lobby and skids to a halt when 4 laser sights suddenly appear on his chest from the snipers across wherever they are. So he gives up.
Greg starts going into cardiac arrest because the whatever is in the EpiPen, what's it called? Epinephrine? Is that it?
Epinephrine,
stopped his heart or something. He's, in trouble.
Yep.
And Josh
Maddie
is not having that.
Maddie said she must have hit a vein, because I'm assuming that epinephrine is meant to be intramuscular, where if she has hit a vein and sent it directly to his heart, it's probably more than, like, a normal heart can handle. So yeah, but Josh is like, no, you are not going to die.
You don't get to die.
It looks like Josh is going to, like, stop Maddie from...
Yeah, because Maddie starts doing CPR. Maddie starts doing compressions.
So it looks like Josh is trying to stop Maddie from doing CPR, but instead he starts doing CPR and he's like, no, you don't get to die.
Well, he's going to if you do CPR like that, Josh.
Oh, it's awful CPR.
Oh, it's so bad. Like, at some point it looks like he's just, like, gently massaging Greg's chest.
Yeah.
Like,
I'd say he's doing his best, but I don't think he is.
No. I mean, we've had this discussion before, how, the actors cannot actually do CPR fully because they are, going to injure the person that they are doing the CPR on. But there's, attempting to look like you're doing CPR, and then it's whatever Brian's doing.
Yeah.
But just as Josh starts doing CPR, and then the power cuts out. Yeah, power cuts out. Sue realizes what's going down, and she yells at all of the dispatchers who have picked up the guns to put them down, because she doesn't want them to be shot by SWAT as potential hostage takers.
Yeah, this is what I mean, like, they've just taken control of the situation, and then the SWAT team come in and they're like, oh, drop your guns.
I think they made it worse, because Sue had Foster under control. But as soon as Foster sees SWAT come in, he's like, I'm not going back, I cannot go back, and then commits suicide by cop.
Yeah. He grabs a gun and just charges at them.
Yeah, he doesn't even attempt to shoot at them. It's just he knows that if he runs at them holding a weapon, they will just fire. Yeah,
so they kill Foster, and an RA unit comes in. Yeah, bye. They're all... It's sort of... When the SWAT team comes in, there's like this... The tense music kind of stops, and there's this like really calm kind of quiet music over the top. And it all goes slow motion, and all of the dispatchers are looking like so relieved, but also like extremely traumatized, which is understandable. So they arrest all of the bad guys, and they take the dispatchers outside, and then we see the replacement dispatchers filing in and picking up the earpieces and going back to work. So
they're filing in and starting to go back to work, and Greg is still being worked on.
Yeah, by the paramedics.
Paramedics came in, thankfully, within like a second of a paramedic doing actual chest compressions, they managed to get a pulse back.
yeah, so he's going to make it.
So he's going to be fine. Now. But yeah, you can see the dispatchers kind of look around going, what the fuck happened in here?
Well, I assume they've been briefed on what's happening.
Why is there blood on the floor?
Outside, Maddie is looking, very traumatized, but Chim sees her and runs over, and they have a big hug. Oh.
Yeah, they have this moment where they're both searching for each other, and I'm just like, oh my god, I want to cry because I love them so much.
Yeah.
While they're having their reunion, Buck's on the other side of the street.
Yeah.
And Sue, who has somehow managed to make her way out of the building, been cleared by LAPD, and walked around to the other side of the street to talk to Buck. And she asks him, or she says to him that she's surprised that he's not over there with Maddie.
Yes, Sue is actually looking perfectly fine after all that she's just been through. She's quite chipper.
She's good. She's a tough cookie.
But yes, she's looking incredibly refreshed.
Yeah, she's calm and collected.
Yeah, she's good. She's fine.
Maddie looks like she's been put through the ringer twice.
Yeah. And she's surprised that Buck's not over there with Maddie. And Buck says that she already has everything she needs.
Yeah.
Aww.
She has Chim. She's fine.
So now we come to the part where everyone has to explain everything to Buck.
No, but it's
with
not.
The last heist.
But it's not even everyone has to explain everything to Buck. It's like everybody knows what's going on, and they're just telling the story to each other over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone has a
Probably.
part of this explanation.
How the fuck does Harry know what's going on?
I love that, like, they were like, oh shit, we need to pay Peter for this episode, but Bobby hasn't been in it, so they just sort of shoehorn him in at the end as well.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't bring, like, Hen and Eddie in just to add everyone in.
They don't have to pay him, he's not a producer, it's fine.
Oh.
But wouldn't that have made sense if rather than having Maddie and Chim and Buck and Josh sit around rehash this whole situation amongst themselves, if they're back at the 118 and like Eddie and Hen are sitting there with like their mouths dropped open, like, what the fuck happened to you, Chim?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
they gave him a day off, he's right.
That would make more sense for him to be
That would
explaining
make-
it to them.
That would be way more... That would make way more sense, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
But that's
they
not
gave
what
him
we
the day
get.
off.
To be fair, Ryan's going to be very busy next episode, so he probably deserved a day off.
No?
You know what? They were probably filming next episode while they were also filming this.
Yeah, that would probably make sense. He's got the B unit, the A unit's doing this.
Yeah.
Or the B unit had this and the A unit was out with Ryan.
Well, at least to start with, Bobby doesn't seem to know what exactly happened because he asks Athena. So they're sitting around the table, like the Athena family. How did you know the museum was their target? And Athena is quite happy to spill this tea. And she says, the car accident. So she explains that, like, I don't know if we need to go through all of this because there's quite a lot of dialogue and we already know it all. But anyway, she explains that they hadn't wanted her there because it had to be something that was near downtown area, and she found out that the alarm had gone off at the museum from the dispatch logs, and they almost got away with it. But they have a little bit of back and forth, like a quick fire series of scenes where each of the guys in the gang says that they want a lawyer, except for Greg.
And I love that they include Foster in this. It's like Ellis is like, I would like to invoke my Sixth Amendment right to counsel. Like, just give me a lawyer. Oliver's like, yeah, not talking with a lawyer. Van Cleef, lawyer. Apples, lawyer. Goon, lawyer. Foster, body bag. Doesn't need a lawyer.
And then Greg actually says, I don't need a lawyer. And he's in hospital bed.
He's like, I'm folding. I'm good.
I am cutting a deal.
I'm going to sell everybody out.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's why Greg didn't want didn't want to kill anyone this whole time, because he's like, yeah, if I get caught, I'm just going to send them down the river.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Like, that was always
it's like,
his plan. Yeah.
he was going to cut a deal. He was going to get, like, minor offences, but he would not be able to cut the deal if he had a homicide on his hands.
Yeah, right?
But he immediately starts singing like a canary. It's like it wasn't the detectives who were interviewing him at bedside, like, start telling us about the security guard. And Greg's like, oh, that was Tiffany's idea. And the two detectives look at each other and like, what? Greg's like, you
Yeah,
didn't
who the
find
fuck is Tiffany?
Well, Greg's like, you didn't find Tiffany? And they're like, who the fuck is Tiffany? And then we get Tiffany, who is still in her little white panel van driving down the street. But we get an updated introduction to her. She is not the driver anymore. She is the brains of the operation. And I love that her needle drop is the zombies. She's not there. It's that whole song is about.
There.
Yeah, it's the whole song is about, when you're trying to find someone, they're not there, which was exactly what was going on with Tiffany in this heist.
Yeah. Yeah, so now we go to Maddie telling what... It's basically Maddie, Chim and Josh telling what happened to Buck. Because I don't know how Chim knows all about what happened, but he does.
No, yeah. So Tiffany was the mastermind. She hired Greg. Greg hired everybody else. But Greg didn't know that Tiffany was the boss. He just thought that she was the driver.
Yeah. So yeah, Tiffany used a voice disguiser, so they had no idea.
And then when Greg was putting his team together, their last driver died in their last heist, so she came highly recommended as a replacement driver, except she recommended herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they targeted Josh to get inside the security inside security, and that's what Buck thinks. At least.
Yeah.
But Josh says no, not exactly. Tiffany already had someone inside, Jake, the security guard. He was the inside man. He was perfect. But apparently Jake and Tiffany also were getting it on.
Yeah, Jake was too perfect.
And he was too perfect.
Yeah, because I think Tiffany hooked up with Jake the same way that Greg hooked up with Josh. Like, they started online dating, except Tiffany fell in love with Jake.
Mm-hmm.
I do love that what sold Tiffany on Jake was when she showed up for their first meeting face to face, and she was late, of course, because apparently she's always late. And Jake's just like, I think people get a little too hung up on watching the clock and being on time, You can literally see Tiffany's panties drop at that point. Which then completely ruined her plan, because she was just going to use Jake and let him take the fall, but now he was her boo, so she wasn't going to, do him wrong. So they needed another fall guy. So that's where Josh came in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they couldn't steal his badge. They just borrowed it, copied it, and then returned it, so he got his wallet back with all his cards inside it. So they didn't suspect anything.
They show extra footage from when Josh was getting the crap beaten out of him. So he's writhing on the floor in pain, and Greg has got a card reader, and he's going through all the cards in Josh's wallet and scanning them into this card reader before putting them back in his wallet and tossing it on the ground.
So then we get the explanation of what happened with Jake. So Jake
did not die.
He didn't die. He was taking his uniform off to give it to Oliver, and then he pulls his gun out and shoots the floor, and scaring the shit out of Oliver. And he's like, "What the hell?" And Jake's like, "Oh, I'm just trying to sell it." So he made his escape at that point. I'm guessing he didn't hang around.
Yeah, Josh says when the other guys were in position inside, Jake was free to sneak out because no one would notice that he was not there anymore. And he went to the Not Walt Disney Center concert hall and hooked up with Tiffany, literally. Because that point where Tiffany was telling Greg, I need 30 more minutes, that's because they were having sex in the van.
Yeah.
Not because Van Cleef and Arthurs were having any trouble.
Disappeared. They took off with the paintings and everyone else was left. So they're about to head off on a train. They're going to take off with all of the paintings on a train, as you do. I mean, I guess this is a callback to the actual original movie, right, which was involving a train.
I think it's also because if they went on an airplane, they would have to check those large crates. And they wouldn't be able... They would have to scanned, they would go through security... They would be out of their line of sight. Whereas if they're going on a train, they would know where they were and no one's going to touch them until they load them off again.
Yeah, but before they can pull it off, Athena apparates.
She really does.
As she does. It's just what she does.
Yeah.
You know how Athena be.
She's done it on a train before.
Yep.
But your trip's been delayed by about 5 to 15 years.
Yeah.
And they all get arrested.
Yes, because apparently while Tiffany was smart enough to remove all of the art from the frames, because the frames are the ones that have the GPS trackers in them, Jake didn't turn off the GPS in his phone. So they tracked his phone because he kept it on him.
But how did they know? I guess Greg must have sold him out as well.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to say he was singing like a canary.
Yeah.
It probably also helped that when they went and cleared dispatch center, they would have said, Terry would have said to them, they shot Jake. And they go down to the server room. They're like, dude, there's nobody in there.
Yeah, where the fuck's Jake? Oh, he's dead.
Yeah. There's a bullet hole in the floor, but there's nobody there.
And then, so her plan was always to double-cross the rest of the team.
Because it turns out the driver who died in the last one was her dad, and they just left him.
Yeah, and then after all that, Harry pipes up with, wow, I guess there really is no honour among thieves. And the rest of them sort of...
And everyone's just like, what?
Okay. And have a laugh. I mean, he's right. What a weird thing for him to say. Oh, right, so the explanation's done. Now we go to Maddie taking her drawer that Jim has offered her.
Oh, no, she's not taking a drawer. She's taking his entire closet. She's literally removing Jim's clothes from his closet.
Yeah. So she's not moving in, right? She's just bringing some of her things over.
Some of her things over.
Some of my things, she says. So he now brings up this case again. Everyone wants to make a deal except for Jake, who wants to fight it out in court.
Because he was crazy in love, so he wasn't thinking clearly.
Yeah, and Maddie knows what that's like. Oh.
Aww.
So cute.
She tells Chim that I'm really glad you got my message. And his response is, I love you too.
Oh, and then they take a break from clearing out the closet and get it on instead.
Maddie removes even more of Chim's clothes. not just the ones in the closet.
The ones on his body.
Yes.
Oh, dear.
But Chim has nowhere to put them.
So, did you enjoy this heist better than the Ocean's 911 episode?
See...
Because you had reservations about that one.
No, but Ocean's 911 was not a heist movie. Ocean's 911 pretended to be a heist movie, and it started with a heist, but it was actually a mystery. And it was a bad mystery. Whereas this one was an actual heist. We got to watch the crew try to pull off the heist. Well, actually, we did see them pull off the heist. So yes, I enjoyed this one much more than I did
this episode.
The mystery one of Ocean's 911.
I forgot how much I liked it too. And then, when I was watching it, I'm like, this is actually, real cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted. Well, actually, what I wanted from Ocean's 911 was the 118 to be pulling off the heist. But, this is fine. I'll accept this as well.
Well, it had everything. It had, the tension, everyone was not quite sure what was going to happen next because the guys were losing control and we didn't know what they were going to do next. Mm-hmm. It had good pace all the way through and resolved in a good way. It didn't have any Hen or Eddie at all.
It did not. I don't know what Aisha was doing this week, but that's fine. She might have been taking a well-deserved break. We said Ryan was probably off shooting something. People are allowed to take time off.
So, speaking of Eddie, what are we doing next week?
We're beginning.
Again?
We haven't had Eddie Begins yet. So it's next week is Eddie Begins. The official promo that was sent out says that Eddie's journey to rescue a boy from a well turns into a mission to save himself from his past, which sounds very dramatic.
Yes.
triggers for anybody who hasn't seen Eddie Begins before and wants to watch it for the first time but wants to know what they're going to be in for includes discussions of cancer, claustrophobia, specifically being buried alive, child at threat, threat of drowning, gun violence, a helicopter crash, depiction of war, and PTSD.
Wow.
So fun times.
Yeah, it sounds like a complicated one.
There's a lot in this episode. I can't wait for Ellen to see it.
It's so good.
Okay. You guys are hyping this one up a lot, and have been for some time.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it.
But have we ever hyped up an episode and you've then watched the episode and gone, why were you making a big deal out of that?
No, I do believe you. I do believe you. You haven't let me down yet.
Yeah.
Yet.
Alice, we need to just find a random 911 episode and just start hyping the shit out of it. Just to throw Ellen off
No,
the
what we
track.
need to do is just talk about how shit, some of the really good episodes are.
And then I'll be watching them going, what are you talking about? This is great.
Like Jinx in season 4 is so shit. It's actually the worst episode ever.
So we're just gonna
we have to watch it again.
We're just gonna gaslight Ellen. Excellent. I'm always up for a good set of gaslighting. Yeah, Jinx. Oh god.
Thanks,
Fuck.
guys.
We have to watch Jinx again. Shit.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Okay, I'm going to remember that one now.
No, you won't. It's fine. It's not like you're the one that edits these episodes.
It's a long way away, potentially. Actually, speaking of a long way away, not a long way away, Eddie Begins is episode 15, which means we only have a few left in this season.
Yeah, we're nearly done.
So I guess now is the time we have to start telling people to send us your feedback for Series 3. Let us know what you thought and what's your favourite episode from this season and your least favourite, all those things that we normally talk about in a season wrap. You can email them to us, or it's probably better if you either DM them to us on a social media or email them rather than commenting them, just so that we can keep track of them a bit better. We've still got a few weeks until we have to record that, so you've got a little while, but yeah, start thinking about it.
Yeah, still a couple weeks before I start harassing people. But get ready.
So you can also let us know what you thought about this particular episode 14, in all of those ways. Comment on Spotify. You can comment on the actual blog post for this episode on thatweewoo.com, or you can email us, all those other things. Find out all the details on our website. Thank you very much for listening this week, and we will talk to you next time about episode 15, Eddie Begins. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.
911 is a fictional show, but many of the situations portrayed happen in the real world too. If any of the topics we've discussed in this episode have affected you, please know you're not alone. You can call or text numbers in your country for help. Just Google crisis support in your location to find out the number. If you enjoy our podcast, you can help us out by leaving us a review on Spotify or your preferred listening app, and by sharing our social media posts. Find out more at thatweewooshow.com.